Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving into the world of tokenized real-world assets, or RWA,
hmm
and specifically how a model called Mediment is connecting high-value medical diagnostic equipment like MRI and CT scanners directly to decentralized finance.
Yep, it's quite a concept.
This isn't just about crypto for its own sake. It's really about trying to solve some major healthcare infrastructure problems using blockchain.
That's absolutely right. Our mission today really is to synthesize the architecture of this whole solution. We need to understand the technical mechanism, sure.
Right, the nuts and bolts.
Exactly, how they link machine usage to the blockchain, but maybe even more critically, the operational reality that has to underpin it.
Okay.
And that means looking closely at their big partnership with the Visa Smart Hospitals. We've got some detailed sources, white papers, partnership info, laying out this pretty complex model.
The big picture here is fascinating, isn't it? Mediment seems to be attempting to create a whole new verifiable and highly transparent asset class backed entirely by clinical productivity.
Yeah, real-world usage.
It feels like it's about injecting capital where traditional financing has often struggled, especially in emerging markets.
Exactly. But I think to really appreciate the solution Mediment is proposing,
Yeah.
we first have to get a clear picture of the core problem they're tackling. Let's call it the diagnostic dilemma.
The diagnostic dilemma.
Okay.
And that dilemma, based on what our sources outline, it seems to revolve around these massive barriers to entry for advanced imaging tech.
Yeah, the cost.
These machines are just incredibly expensive. So if you can't afford that huge upfront capital investment, you end up with either, well, massive scarcity in underserved regions,
Right.
or the machines you do have are underutilized because the financing and the maintenance models are kind of broken.
That's it. And when we synthesize the specific pain points Mediment is aiming at, three really stand out. First, as you said, the financial barrier. That high capital cost just limits rapid deployment.
Which means patients wait longer for diagnoses?
Critical delays, exactly. Second, there's this issue of opacity and mistrust. Traditional revenue tracking how many scans were run, how much was actually billed, it's often really murky.
Like a black box.
Precisely.
Right.
Which creates inefficiency and, frankly, significant trust issues between the clinics, the machine operators, and the people financing it all.
Yeah, I can see that. If you're an investor, you put money in, but you maybe can't see the actual cash flow in anything close to real time.
You got it. And the third major issue is just the sheer infrastructure gap in many regions. Think rural India, parts of Africa. Advanced diagnostic equipment is acutely scarce. Patients might have to travel impossible distances.
Okay, so Mediment's countermodel, this idea of fractionalizing ownership of the revenue streams these machines generate, that's meant to tackle both the capital barrier and the transparency problem.
Simultaneously, that's the goal.
So, all right, how do they actually pull the data from, say, a multi-million-dollar MRI scanner and get it onto the blockchain? That connection, that bridge between the physical machine and the digital ledger, that seems like the absolute make or break part.
It really is. And relies heavily on established standards, which is smart. The platform uses the HL7 protocol.
Okay, HL7.
Yeah, Health Level 7. For anyone listening, that's basically the global standard for exchanging clinical and administrative data between different software systems in healthcare.
Oh.
It's already widely used.
Okay. So they aren't trying to invent some new proprietary data feed. They're plugging into existing regulated clinical data standards. That must be a huge plus for regulatory acceptance.
Oh, absolutely. It's critical for credibility. So every machine activity, every single patient scan completed, the billing entry that goes with it, the diagnostic report generated, all of it, it's captured in real time via HL7.
Real time. Wow.
And then recorded as an immutable log on the blockchain. Then, the income generated from that specific scan is instantly converted into Mediment digital tokens, MDMT, or maybe a stablecoin equivalent.
And that token represents fractional ownership of that machine's immediate earnings.
Exactly, the earnings from that activity.
Okay, so once that income is digitized on the chain, the distribution becomes automatic through smart contracts, right? Is that how it works?
That's precisely where the transparency guarantee comes in. The smart contracts handle the entire revenue split automatically.
No manual reconciliation needed.
None. They ensure that the pre-agreed percentages, the slice for the hospital or clinic operating the machine, the slice set aside for maintenance and service, and critically, the yield paid out to the token holders are executed instantly. Tamper-proof, no human intermediaries needed. It just cuts through all the complexity and potential disputes of traditional revenue sharing.
What seems really unique here, though, is the source of the return for token holders. It looks like a compound yield model drawing from two pretty distinct value streams.
Yes, that dual yield model is really the core innovation driving the, well, potentially quite aggressive returns cited in the sources.
Okay, break that down. Stream one is.
Stream one is the straightforward, tangible yield from real-world scan fees,
Right.
the basic productivity of the physical asset. Simple enough.
Makes sense. People pay for scans.
Right. Stream two, however, is where it gets more novel. The monetization of anonymized diagnostic data.
Okay, so you're talking about aggregated, secure data pulled via that HL7 standard. Things like imaging patterns, disease prevalence in an area, maybe machine efficiency stats.
Exactly that. This kind of anonymized, aggregated data is incredibly valuable. Think pharmaceutical companies doing research, AI developers training diagnostic algorithms, public health institutions.
Right, I can see the value there.
When you combine the scan revenue with this data revenue, you get this novel data plus diagnostics asset class. It's essentially an investment in both the physical hardware and the unique medical knowledge it generates.
And let's not gloss over the numbers mentioned in the white paper based on this dual stream. The Sources project returns somewhere on the order of 46% annual ROI per machine. That figure seems, well, highly ambitious for any kind of infrastructure investment.
It is exceptionally high, no question. And that projection hinges entirely on two big assumptions. First, maintaining a sustained high utilization rate for the equipment.
Which isn't always easy.
Not at all. And second, the successful monetization of that anonymized data stream at projected market rates. So we really have to view that 46% figure as, let's say, a calculated potential based on their model.
Not a guarantee.
Definitely not a guarantee. It depends heavily on both scan volume and finding consistent buyers for that aggregated HL7 data.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, if the underlying assets, the machines, are meant to be that productive, the financing model itself, the token, needs to be rock solid. This brings up something I saw in the sources that needs clarification.
Okay.
It mentions the MDMT token is structured as both a utility and governance token and also as a compliant security token. Those sound potentially contradictory. That distinction is pretty crucial, right?
It is, and it raises an important point. The language used in the sources likely reflects the complex, sometimes messy reality of global crypto assets and regulation.
How so?
Well, the reason for that seeming ambiguity often boils down to jurisdictional necessity. It functions as a utility token because it provides practical access within the ecosystem. Patients getting discounted scans, hospitals paying for upgrades of tokens, maybe governance rights over certain parameters.
Okay, that's the utility side.
Right. But for investors, particularly in certain geographies or perhaps for the primary financing rounds where they're raising capital, it must be structured and offered as a security token.
To comply with financial regulations.
Exactly. Because it represents a fractional claim on future earnings derived from a real-world income-generating asset.
Mm-hmm.
So it often has to wear both hats depending on the context and the user.
So it's kind of a flexible structure designed to navigate different financial laws globally while still having that functional utility baked into the MetaMint ecosystem itself.
That seems to be the approach.
That level of complexity, though, it demands serious operational scale to execute properly. You can't just stick a single CT scanner on the blockchain in some isolated clinic and realistically expect that kind of ROI or ecosystem effect.
Absolutely not. You need a massive, established hospital network to make the economics work and to generate that valuable data flow.
Which brings us directly to the Avisa partnership.
Yes, this partnership is arguably the operational proof of concept. It's what makes MetaMint more than just a white paper idea. Avisa Smart Hospitals is their foundational strategic partner.
And Avisa is.
They're a rapidly growing hospital chain in India, known specifically for pioneering this tech-driven operate and manage O&M model. They focus on digitally upgrading and converting existing healthcare facilities into smart hospitals, rather than just building new ones from scratch.
Okay, interesting model. But what kind of scale are we actually talking about here? It needs to be substantial to justify tokenizing the infrastructure like this.
The scale is frankly immense. Avisa operates a network of around 300 hospitals.
300, wow.
Across 14 cities in India. They manage something like 15,000 beds and serve about 250,000 patients every month.
Okay, so this isn't some small pilot program.
Not at all. This is layering blockchain-based financing directly over a massive, pre-existing, fully functioning healthcare network. Avisa brings the physical footprint, the patient flow, and crucially, the existing digitization infrastructure. That significantly de-risks the immediate operational rollout for Mediment.
That provides instant credibility. And that's probably why the leadership team composition seems important here, too. Our sources show a clear blend of PEC expertise and deep clinical acumen.
Absolutely critical. The vision seems to have originated with Vikas Sharma, who is the group CEO of Avisa. He's actually an electronics engineer by background, turned entrepreneur, who apparently saw blockchain as the necessary tool to scale this kind of asset finance.
So the tech angle comes from the top.
Yes, but crucially, he's supported by co-founders Dr. Ezwani A. Naidu and Dr. Raja Duda, who are described as deep medical industry veterans. You need that clinical side.
Definitely.
And there's also mention of Nalan Kumar as a co-founder. So that combination of domain knowledge, the tech possibilities, plus the realities of clinical execution, it lends essential trust to their whole roadmap.
Okay, let's circle back then to the MDMT token itself, operating within this big Avisa network. Beyond just providing yield to investors, how does it actually incentivize the hospitals and the patients to participate? What's the utility?
Right, the utility aspect is key to creating a self-sustaining loop, not just an investment vehicle. As we said, token holders can stake their MDMT to earn yield from those real-world profits, the scan fees, the data monetization.
Standard staking yield.
Yes, but functionally for day-to-day use. Patients can potentially use MDMT to pay for scans, maybe at a discount, which helps drive machine utilization.
Okay, patient incentive.
And simultaneously, the hospitals or clinics within the Avisa network can redeem tokens they might earn or acquire. They could use them for things like new machine upgrades, software services for preventative maintenance, maybe even consumables.
Ah, so it creates a closed-loop economy within the network.
That's the idea. It encourages everyone, patients, hospitals, investors, to participate actively in the network's success and keep the token circulating.
And thinking about long-term value, how do they prevent the asset pool from degrading? Ending up with a network full of old, inefficient machines, which would surely destroy the value of the tokenized income stream. The sources mentioned a 5-year life cycle model.
Yes, that life cycle model is a really critical element for risk mitigation and maintaining quality. Traditional asset financing often leaves investors stuck holding older, less efficient machinery over time.
Right, depreciation is real.
Mediment seems to impose a strict, fixed 5-year operational term for every single machine that gets tokenized onto their platform.
So only 5 years per machine?
That's the model described. It basically guarantees a refresh cycle. The assets backing the tokens are continuously being upgraded to newer, presumably more efficient models. It prevents older equipment from just limping along and dragging down the overall network productivity and returns.
Interesting. So what happens to the tokens associated with the machine when its 5-year term is up?
The sources indicate a couple of possibilities. The associated tokens might be retired, effectively burned, which would reduce the overall MDMT supply.
Okay, deflationary pressure.
Or, potentially, they could be rolled over into the tokenization contract for the brand new, upgraded replacement machine that takes its place. Either way, it aims to provide predictability for investors and maintain the quality of the underlying asset pool.
That planned renewal, it really supports the idea of a long-term deflationary approach to the token's value, doesn't it?
Precisely. The tokenomics, as described, seem engineered specifically to support value over time. A significant chunk of the machine profits is explicitly allocated back into the ecosystem.
How much are we talking?
The figures mentioned are 25% of profits allocated for staking rewards to incentivize holding,
Okay.
and another 20% earmarked specifically for token buybacks and burns.
20% just for buybacks and burns. That's quite aggressive.
It is. That active reduction in supply, happening continually as machines generate profit, is designed to directly support the token's value, especially against the backdrop of their planned rapid scaling.
And scaling is definitely the plan, based on the documents. They're aiming for pretty aggressive growth, aren't they? Something like increasing machine deployment 5-fold.
Yeah, from an initial cohort, scaling up to potentially 75 machines deployed under this model by 2028.
Wow.
And looking beyond their initial focus in India and potentially Africa, with stated plans to expand into the Middle East, the GCC region, and also Southeast Asia.
That kind of aggressive global trajectory makes the communication of this model, this complex dual yield utility/security token thing, incredibly challenging, I imagine.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
not a simple concept to grasp it quickly.
It really isn't. And actually, that brings us neatly to the final key piece of information we pulled from our sources today. It's something highly relevant to you, the listener, especially if you're trying to absorb complex models like Metamints quickly. The sheer complexity of this RWA model means that explaining it effectively actually requires using specific content formats, different ways to package the information for easy comprehension.
That's a great point. If we look at how sophisticated concepts like this are often explained to different audiences, investors, hospital administrators, even patients, they tend to use very targeted content formats to maximize absorption.
Like what, for example?
Well, for instance, trying to explain that dual value stream scans plus data that might be best achieved through short, easily digestible explainer videos, maybe 2 or 3 minutes long, visually showing the HL7 data capture and flow. Perfect for social media or a quick intro.
Okay, visual simplification. Makes sense.
Then maybe for the busy professional, someone who needs to catch up while commuting or multitasking, you'd have audio summaries, like a 6-minute brief, just the core facts, the key mechanisms, hands-free learning.
Right, like this deep dive, hopefully.
Exactly. And then, crucially, to make sure the information actually sticks, you need tools for active recall, things like flashcards or short quizzes.
Ah, testing yourself.
Yeah, testing whether you actually remember the critical details. Did you retain the 5-year fixed life cycle? Do you recall the percentage allocated to token burns? That kind of active engagement really cements knowledge.
And then, of course, for the serious analysts or potential big investor, you need the full reports. The deep dive documents with all the projections, the technical specs, the legal framework, the authoritative source.
Absolutely.
So the point is, choosing the right format for consuming information is really key to turning something complex, like a dense white paper on tokenized MRIs, into genuinely actionable knowledge.
Well said.
Yeah.
So if we were to wrap up our deep dive today, Mediment appears to have laid out a potentially sustainable and notably transparent model for funding critical healthcare infrastructure.
Sustainable and transparent being the keywords.
Right. It works by converting the real-world operational data, the usage stats, the earnings of diagnostic machines, into verifiable income-generating digital assets on a blockchain. And this whole mechanism gains essential real-world credibility and scaling potential through that crucial large-scale partnership with Avisa Smart Hospitals across their 300 facilities.
That synergy really seems to be the headline here. The tech model plus the massive operational partner. Now, if blockchain technology can successfully turn the usage statistics of an MRI machine into a globally tradable fractional investment asset with automated yield distribution, then this raises a pretty profound question for the future, doesn't it? What other essential yet often chronically underfunded physical infrastructure might be next in line for this kind of tokenization? Could we see this applied to, say, municipal roads, water treatment facilities, maybe even parts of national power grids?
It certainly opens up possibilities, the potential for transforming how we finance global infrastructure by unlocking the value in real-world operational data.
Yeah.
Well, it's immense.
Definitely something for you to consider as you process this deep dive into Mediment and the world of real-world asset tokenization.